welcome back to the Agriland Pavilion here at the Agriland stand 305. And we are just coming to the end of our live stream here in association with UPMC. And I'm joined on the panel today now for our final one by Sandra Hayes from Teagasc, Anya O'Connell from, well, IFA and Women in Dairy, and Paula Fitzsimons from Acorns. Ladies, thank you very much for joining me on the panel today. I suppose, first of all, Sandra, you're the programme manager with Teagasc and the coordinator of the Future Farm programme based in the Kilkenny, Waterford region. So what is the most impactful part of your role as programme manager with Teagasc on that particular programme?
I suppose it's the one-to-one that I have with the 10 farmers. They get a visit from me practically every month. So you're literally with the farmer. You've great one-to-one relationship both with the farmer, his partner, wife, spouse, and a lot with the people working on the farm and the family, the whole family. Like they know you by name and they know when you're going to call. And you know, once I land on the farm, the first thing you do is you put on your boots and you go and walk the farm. You do a grass walk. You're back in then having a cup of tea and discussing things and doing things on the computer. So you become part of the family, I suppose, for the period of the programme. Like, these farmers are in the programme since 2019. They first went into the Teagasc Tirlan, well, Glanbia as it was at the time.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later they changed and they all moved into Signpost. So they're going to be in the programme for a total of 7 years. So it changed. I moved over in December 21. Richard O'Brien was my predecessor. So you're kind of an advisor that's nearly part of the furniture and part of the farm. Because you're there on a one-to-one basis. So it's a lot of information they get, and for me, I get great buy-in from the farmers, because every time I go to the farm from one visit to the next, you might have discussed something. Will you reseed that field? And 4 weeks later, when you arrive back, the job is done.
Yeah.
So there's great reward in the job that you do, and the uptake of the technology and the new methods and the new science that's coming out. To be fair, they're very good farmers and they're great adapters, and they take it on and they try it, whether it's good, bad or indifferent, and they'll give it a go. And the good thing then about my job is that I get to relay that back to the larger farming public. The clover worked here or it didn't work there, and the reasons why, because the farmers give you that one-to-one information.
And just actually to recap to our viewers as to the Future Farm programme, I suppose the ultimate aim of it, Sandra.
Well, the aim is for those farmers to lower their carbon footprint from what it was. So there's specific targets built in from Teagasc and Tirlan into the programme. And I know what the targets are, the farmers do as well. And we work on a one-to-one basis to see in practical day-to-day running of the farm, how can those targets be met? And where we come across the problems, and to relay them to the bigger farmer public, because I think they get the perception of a monitor farmer, they do everything perfect and they don't do anything wrong. They're the same as any other farmer. They're just opening themselves up, because they're in the public persona quite a bit. But they do things the same as every other farmer, but they're just willing to, I suppose, to adapt earlier and make changes earlier and try and be on that journey, because for them, it's for their farm businesses going forward. They see it as a good thing for them.
Absolutely. Paula, thank you for joining us. You really are a great advocate for the Acorns programme. So the Acorns programme is for early stage female entrepreneurs living in rural Ireland. It's over a 6-month period. You work with a lot of women in rural areas. And I suppose from your point of view, Paula, what are the biggest challenges facing women in rural areas in getting into business, thinking about starting business, thinking about expanding business? What are the challenges?
Okay, there's many challenges about starting a business in the first place, no matter where you're situated. You're trying to get customers, you're trying to get your finance, you're trying to bring your idea into fruition. And if you're in a rural area, it's more difficult. Broadband isn't uniformly available. Mm-hmm. Your customers, your suppliers tend to be more at a distance. The entrepreneur herself is often more isolated, so there's less networks for her. And other services like childcare may not be as available. So the idea behind Acorns, which comes from the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine, was that they wanted to stimulate entrepreneurship within rural areas, and particularly focusing on women, because less women were starting businesses. So that's where Acorns comes in. And one of the things it does is it tries to break that cycle of isolation by forming a strong network, or tribe if you like, of like-minded people and bringing them together with a goal and milestone of starting and beginning to grow that business. So while there's challenges, this provides the opportunity to galvanise their interest and motivation.
Anya O'Connell, you're a dairy farmer, and you know you've a great idea of the sector through your work of IFA and so on. As a female dairy farmer, you know, are you coming across many other female dairy farmers in your day-to-day life and in your IFA work?
I think it's improving. We are, in my role in IFA, we have 2 female members on our committee, so we always welcome that. We're trying to get more female members involved. We're always encouraging it. So it's small but growing, and we have got a stronger voice coming from the female farming community, which is good. In my role with Dairy Women Ireland, it is all about establishing that education and support network for dairy women, so that they recognise themselves the important roles they play in dairy farming, because as women we typically undervalue ourselves and undersell ourselves. So to remind women how important a role they play, be it in the house or actually on the farm, it doesn't matter. They're playing a valuable role to the whole farm family situation. And then also encouraging them to, you know, assert themselves, get empowered, learn, get confident, to go to the, you know, the male discussion groups, get involved with the dairy co-op boards, get involved in areas where they would have probably lacked confidence before because they were such a male-dominated space. But from my time in the dairy sector, at this stage, I'm more comfortable talking to a room full of men than a room full of women. Yeah. I find a room full of women very intimidating at this stage.
Yeah.
So it's all, I would say it's a very welcoming space for any woman in the industry. They just need to back themselves, and that's what Dairy Women Ireland is all about. Empower yourself and you can do anything.
Sandra, the 10 families that you work with, as you said, you work with families, you don't work with 10 farmers.
Yeah,
you know,
no, I work with 10
it's
families.
the families, it's the spouses, it's the kids that all get involved as well.
Yeah. Well, like, it's the best way to work, because you're sitting at a kitchen table and we've made the cup of tea together and we sit down and we're making farm decisions. So those decisions can have an impact on the whole family. So they all need to be on board on, you know, what direction that the farm is taking. So in a lot of cases they'd have a farm business plan done up, and we'd involve the family. Like, what are your goals? Like, we might have a financial plan, but also where does the farm want to be with the family in the next 5 years? So you can't have a plan with just the farmer on its own. You have to have everybody else involved.
Of course, yeah.
You know?
And actually, just mentioning there, you know, how Anya was saying, within the agricultural sector, that people, and particularly women, should have that confidence to maybe go for more roles and things like that. And, you know, more and more we're chatting to people, representatives of Teagasc, for example, that are women.
Yeah.
You know, how is Teagasc getting on in terms of providing those career growth opportunities to women, and even in other agribusiness that you work with, are you seeing more women?
Well, definitely. Like, as I was explaining there before we came on stage, that like when I started off in ag and finished in '97, it was a male-dominated. But through the eyes that I have, I didn't see any difference, because we all got treated the same, and we all met one another at interviews. So there was no kind of issue there. On farm or within Teagasc, I suppose there's definitely more female advisors, and I suppose there's change, as Anya mentioned, slowly taking place. Like, there's we've got 2 female regional managers in Teagasc. I suppose I've moved into a role that would have been previously a male role. So yes, changes are happening a bit slowly, but they are changing. But the thing I see on Teagasc on the ground, a lot of regional units have started up the women discussion groups.
Yes.
So myself and John Maguire in the Waterford Kilkenny region, we actually facilitate one of those. It started last October, and we've got a great response. And it's a bit like what Anya's saying, is, you know, giving them the support and the help. Like, as I said, and I've always said this, like I've had male groups before, and I've always encouraged spouses to come along, and they have,
Yeah.
and their children as well, particularly during the school holidays, because you never know what effect that can have, and you'll see it in a few years' time. Somebody will come back to you and say, "Oh, I used to go with Daddy to the discussion group meetings." So that's help and encouragement, and we're seeing that with the women's groups. I suppose some of them have got bad press, kind of saying, "Oh, why is there women only?" Well, I said, "Why is there men only?"
Yeah.
But the women have said to us that they find it a very comfortable environment to learn and to ask the questions. If they get that confidence, I see no issue why they wouldn't join their own local discussion group in a couple of years' time when they've built up that knowledge base and, I suppose, the strength and the courage to go and join their local mixed group, as it might be then. I suppose I'm in a women's only discussion group myself called Demeter, and we meet 4 times a year. And before I would have just kind of, I don't know, what's the need for a women's discussion group? But I suppose the atmosphere and the environment when I'm there with the other women and the sharing that goes on is absolutely tremendous. And I would encourage any women to get in touch with any organisation they can to empower themselves and give themselves that knowledge, because what we're finding, myself and John in the local one, they ask more intelligent questions than sometimes the men discussion groups. So if anyone's out there and wants to join, get on to their local regional manager or someone in their office and ask, is there a group in their area, and get involved. You never know. It's I know the Kilkenny Waterford one is going very well, and they're all very delighted to be in it.
Great stuff. Paula, can I go back to you? What Anya and Sandra have echoed there, I suppose, is like more women feeling supported by other women, and sometimes confidence is a big part of it. I think, I don't know, but personally speaking, I always feel like I nearly come from the back foot in terms of confidence, and a bit of imposter syndrome that goes on. With the way things have gone with agriculture at the moment, it is looking like a lot of farm enterprises have to diversify. So a lot of the time, and we're hearing more and more stories of where the women in the household, if they're not on farm and the man is doing more of the farming and she might be doing the farm family, she's coming up with a diversification project, a small business, be it horticulture, be it making jam or something like that, or small businesses. Are you seeing more of that coming through Acorns?
Certainly we would see. I mean, one that comes to mind immediately who did exactly that was Norma Deneen from Borua Farm, who everybody knows very well. They have a dairy farm there. Norma was working off the farm as an engineer, and to fit in around the family, she found it better if she would work on the farm, and she retrained as an artisan cheese producer. And now they've the award-winning cheese, so she's adding value to the family farm. Mm-hmm. Others in the Burren, for example, are doing agri-tourism. We have others doing horticulture. So absolutely, you see that diversification. But also, I see others coming forward who've nothing to do with the farm, who live in rural areas, who are starting businesses, be it coffee shops, be it coding for kids, be it Joe Brown, beauty in Carlow. They're in rural areas, they're adding value in their locality, they're creating jobs, and they're offering more services to those who live there. So all in all, it gives everyone a better reason to be in their locality, and it gives these women a very fulfilling job for themselves.
Absolutely. Anya, can I go back to you again in terms of the IFA? Do you think there is that block, I suppose, in terms of confidence? Like I note, for example, just within taking the IFA as an example, from Director General, President, Deputy President, and I'm almost sure down to regional level, I don't think there's female in those positions at the moment. And we had Alice Doyle on here earlier, for example, who's going for the Deputy President role in the IFA, and she said she would like to see more people like her, and she feels that women would like to see more people like yourselves in those positions. Do you think there is more of a move towards that in general in farming?
There is, but the first and foremost important thing is for the woman herself to back herself. IFA is a democracy, so you only can vote on the candidates that are nominated. So in order for people to be able to vote for a woman, a woman has to be nominated, and that woman has to have the confidence to back herself to put herself up for that. And that level of exposure and scrutiny, sometimes women shy away from, you know. So it is something we'd love to see more women obviously running in the association. We want diversity. We want people from all ages, all backgrounds. It makes our council more comprehensive, and we will develop better policy as a result of it. So we want all that diversity, not just gender, but age and different sectors, different backgrounds. But particularly for the woman, they have to put themselves in that position. So it goes right back to the fact that you have to empower the women. You have to nurture these roles when they come into branch level, that they feel valued, not worshipped, but valued. Maybe worshipped.
We'll take a bit of worship as well. I'll never say no.
But they do need to be recognised and allowed to grow in the association. But I think there's plenty of space for women to grow in IFA. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm a staff member. I'm not voluntary, so it's a bit different. But yeah. I don't see any reason why my gender should get in the way of what the job is. It doesn't bother me. And I think every woman coming into the sector shouldn't let their gender be an issue.
Yeah. Sandra, we're walking around the ploughing here for the last 2 days, and we'll do so again tomorrow. And, you know, I don't see it as being 90-80% males here and male farmers. I see pretty even division here, and there's women going around there with wellies on, and I'd say they tell me how to run a farm faster than anyone else. So when you're out and about now, and as you said, I think in 97 you said you qualified.
Graduate,
yeah. So in the difference between 97 and 2023, have you in your work seen a sea change of maybe where women weren't taken as seriously, or even to give advice, because there could have been younger women working with Teagasc going into older generation farms trying to give advice? Have you seen a sea change, or is it still slowly moving?
No, I definitely have seen a change, and I'd say, I suppose I'm part of the instigation of that change, because if I went out and I was asked out on, let's say we're drawing up, we want to go into a partnership, father and son, or daughter and father, right? I would kind of say, well, who's going to be there when you go out on farm? And they say, well, just the two of us. And I said, no, we're going to need everybody here, because this is a very big step, a big change in how the farm is going to be run. It's going to involve everybody. And they say, no, well, such and such is working up in Dublin, they won't be down. And I said, well, if you don't have the round table talks with me, you need to have it before I arrive. So I suppose Teagasc would be very pro in that, whether you're a male or a female advisor, when you go out on farm, for certain decisions that you're going to need everybody on board, like transferring the family farm. We have a lot of seminars now coming up in October.
That's right.
And we would definitely encourage, the family to go, and to get that information, because if one person goes, the information coming back can be skewed. So you're better off having everybody. So I always find it when I go out to, to discuss things like that, major changes in the farm, transferring from son to daughter or partnerships, or changing to a company or something like that, to get everybody around the table, because you'd be surprised what comes out. And then they can have the private time and have the discussions, but they have the information in front of them from me, and they know that everybody knows at the same time, and it's not a second message. So we would encourage that. We would find better decisions are made when the family are together.
Paula, finally, I'm just running out of time here, but just before you go, can you give some advice to our viewers who are watching? Maybe the husband is here today, but the kids are in school, so the farming wife is at home, she's to collect them from school, but they have an idea. They may not have the confidence and don't know where to go if they want to start a rural business. What should they do?
They should, in the first instance, if they're not here and they can't come and talk to me, if they want to talk to me, I'm in the innovation arena, and they can come. I'm happy to answer questions, be it to a man or a woman. I'm happy to have the discussion. Otherwise, go on the internet, look up acorns.ie, and they'll find that we have a call open for applicants at the moment. So I would say move on it immediately, and the closing date for that is Friday at midnight.
Friday. Paula, thank you very much for joining us. I'm sorry that's all we have time for today. We've come to the end of our live stream coverage from the Ploughing Championships in association with UPMC. But do stay tuned to Agriland. Just because the live stream has stopped doesn't mean we won't be covering all of the action right up until this evening, until the last van, car, tractor, gator has gone out the gate. And we're back again tomorrow with our live stream. We'll be here on site first thing in the morning, and our live stream from 12 to 4. So stay tuned on the Agriland app, on YouTube and on Facebook. Thank you to my wonderful panel, the last panel of the day today: Sandra Hayes from Teagasc, Anya Collin from IFA, and Paula Fitzsimons from Fitzsimons Consulting and the Acorns programme. Stay tuned, and we'll be back again tomorrow.